When the radio at the reserve headquarters crackled with an urgent signal about strange cries coming from a rocky canyon, no one yet knew this would be the beginning of an incredible story between a human and a predator. One of the rangers responded to the call, not suspecting that his decision on that hot African day would prove fateful. What happened next, and how the wild repaid him for the rescue several months later, shocked everyone. The sun hung at its zenith, turning the savannah into a blazing furnace when the ranger's jeep stopped at the foot of a rocky massif. The air shimmered with heat, and even the experienced tracker found it hard to breathe. The sounds reported by locals hadn't stopped, a low, desperate roar echoing between the stones. Climbing the rocky slope, he saw a scene that made his heart clench. Between two massive boulders, in a narrow crevice, a large lioness was trapped. Her hindquarters were firmly wedged between the rocks, her front paws frantically scraping at the hot stone. The fur on her sides heaved with labored breathing. Nearby, in the shade beneath an overhanging rock, 3 small lion cubs whimpered pitifully, unable to reach their mother. The smallest, who had barely opened his eyes, was unsuccessfully trying to squeeze through the gap to her. An experienced eye immediately assessed the situation. The lioness had likely been trying to hide her cubs from the midday heat in the cool crevice and had fallen deeper than intended. The rocks had shifted, and she found herself in a stone trap. Judging by the animal's exhaustion, she'd been there for many hours. He knew, without help, the lioness would die, and after her, the cubs, too small to survive on their own. But he also understood that approaching a wounded, frightened predator meant mortal risk. One wrong step, one sudden movement, and powerful jaws could close on his throat. The nearest help was several hours' drive away, and the lioness had no time. He'd have to act alone. The patrol jeep always carried an emergency toolkit. Rangers often dealt with rock slides, road blockages, the need to clear passages. First, he tried a crowbar. The rock wouldn't budge. A hammer and chisel left only pitiful scratches on the ancient stone. The lioness watched him with yellow eyes that held pain, fear, and something else, a faint spark of hope. "Just don't attack," the ranger mentally pleaded, taking out a battery-powered hammer drill. "Please understand, I'm trying to help." The screech of the tool tore through the savannah's silence. Each touch of the bit to stone sent vibrations through everything, and he could see the lioness flinch. He worked with extreme caution. One wrong move could bring down the rock and crush the animal completely. Dust clogged his lungs. Sweat flooded his eyes. His hands trembled from the strain. The hours dragged by agonizingly slowly. The heat became unbearable, but the work didn't stop. Only brief pauses to wet his throat with water and let the drill cool down. And suddenly, the man noticed an amazing change. The lioness stopped growling. She looked at him calmly, almost trustingly, as if understanding this human was no enemy. Her breathing evened out, and something resembling gratitude appeared in her eyes. Between them formed a strange, inexplicable connection. The ranger even dared to come closer to remove rock fragments by hand, and the lioness didn't move, only followed his every movement. When the last piece of rock fell away, the lioness slowly, with difficulty, freed herself. She was exhausted, but alive. Standing for a few seconds, catching her breath, she eagerly drank from a bowl of water the ranger carefully placed nearby. Only after this did she turn her head and look the man straight in the eyes, a piercing gaze. Then, growling softly, she called her cubs and slowly, carefully moved into the tall grass. Before disappearing, she looked back once more. He left, considering it a routine operation. Rangers often rescue animals. It's their job, their calling. He didn't think a wild beast could remember a human's face, his scent, his kindness. Several months passed. A brutal drought hit the savannah. Rivers dried up, turning into cracked beds. Herbivores migrated in search of water, and predators followed. Lions are hardy hunters. They know how to survive even in the toughest times. During another patrol, the ranger ventured deep into the reserve's far sector, checking water holes. The drought had changed the landscape. Dried riverbeds looked completely different. Familiar trails were buried under sand and dust. Trying to cut through a dried-up riverbed, he miscalculated. The Jeep's wheels sank into loose sand up to the axles. The engine stalled. Attempts to drive out only buried the vehicle deeper. The radio didn't work. Here in the lowland between hills, the signal couldn't get through. Water supplies were running out, and the sun was relentlessly rolling toward the horizon. With the onset of dusk, the savannah came alive. From somewhere far away came roars, hoarse, hungry. The man climbed into the Jeep and locked the doors. He activated the emergency beacon, an autonomous GPS device that should register his position at the base. All that remained was to wait for dawn and help. Darkness thickened, and suddenly at the edge of the riverbed in the dim flashlight beam, a shadow flickered, massive, feline. His heart began to pound wildly. From the darkness, a lioness emerged unhurriedly, large with powerful shoulders. She stopped a few yards from the Jeep and looked at him. Something about her behavior seemed familiar. She wasn't aggressive, didn't assume a hunting stance, just stood and watched. When she turned sideways to the flashlight beam, the man made out a dark spot on her left side. An old scar or just a shadow? His heart skipped at an incredible thought. Could it possibly be her? The animal slowly circled the vehicle, as if studying the situation. Then she lay down next to the Jeep, placing her head on her front paws. She settled in like a sentinel between the vehicle and the open savannah. All night the man didn't close his eyes. He heard hyenas running past, their evil laughter echoing around, heard jackals approaching, caught the sharp scent of wild dogs. But each time they came closer, the lioness would stand up, issue a low warning growl, and the predators would retreat. She was guarding him, protecting him. Sometimes she'd turn her head toward the Jeep, and in the moonlight he could see her silhouette, majestic, unshakable. This was gratitude in its primal, wild form. Toward dawn, distant engine roars could be heard. The rescue team, having detected the emergency beacon, was approaching. The lioness heard the sounds too. She rose, looked at the man in the vehicle once more, a long, calm gaze, and unhurriedly dissolved into the morning mist. When his colleagues arrived, pulled out the Jeep, and asked about the night, the ranger showed them tracks in the sand, large, fresh, distinct lion paw prints leading back into the savannah's depths, the tracks of a guardian. In interviews, the man always says the same thing. I don't know for certain if she remembered me. Maybe it was coincidence or she was attracted by the vehicle's sound. But that night she didn't let me die. Not from predators' teeth, not from fear. This story reminds us, the animal world is full of mysteries, and the bond that forms between two living beings in a moment of danger sometimes proves stronger than all the laws of nature.